Okay.
Okay, everyone's in. Welcome to the season finale of season 3 of Warwick Zoom Garden Plot. And season is wrapping up, unless you're Bill, and who just keeps going. God bless him. But the rest of us probably need a little break. And we're going to show the agenda. And Sarah's going to show us some exciting stuff from her garden, including a big sweet potato harvesting, which I'm excited to learn about because she planted sweet potatoes in our garden. So I'll see what to do. We're doing my garden, announcements, Michael's raspberries, and any questions of the night, and any other question and answer, of course. So we'll start with Sarah's garden, and take it away, Sarah.
Okay. So this is what the sweet potatoes look like when you plant them. These are slips. I do not grow them myself. They can be grown, but I do purchase them. So what you will see next has all come from that pathetic little piece of twig. Next. So the first thing we do, you see on my left, people are removing the vines. This is a patented method, Chad. We've worked this down. The vines become very large and intertwined. So the idea is you go in there with your clippers, and you can see on the right-hand side where the sweet potatoes barely peeking out of the ground. So what you do is cut the vines so you leave a piece of stem, and that way you know where the potatoes are going to be underground. So here we are clipping away. Next.
I want to interject that sweet potato greens are edible. Maybe this late in the season, it may not be so tasty, but those greens are very edible.
I wouldn't do it now. So anyway, and as you keep cutting, you don't take them away like one plant at a time. Get a whole bunch of them. Like I said, they're all intertwined. So here we are taking away sweet potato vines, and then you can see more digging. The thing with when you're harvesting sweet potatoes, like potatoes, these are Covington, which is a different variety. Historically, we have grown Beauregard, and the Beauregards tend to have tubers all over the place. So you have to be extremely careful when digging. These, it turned out, the tubers are very concentrated around the stem. But to be safe, what you do is you start with your spading fork, maybe a foot away from that stem, and go down and bring them up very gently. The skins on the sweet potatoes are very delicate at this time of year, and you don't want to scrape them, bruise them, pierce them, etc. It's not they're not edible, but the sweet potato has to cure, and that can bring disease in, and you don't want that. So here we are over there with Mikey with the spade action, and it's a very on your hands and knees digging type of thing because you want to gently pull them out. Next.
Mm-hmm.
And so there you can see all the vines have been removed. And these particular sweet potatoes grew very close to the top. That has not been experienced before. You could see their little heads, I guess you call them, peeking up. And then this is where we've already dug all of them up. So we planted a lot this year. I think 75 of those slips, and there were shorter rows, but there are 6 rows and there's 1 row left over in the main garden. So we only dug up 3 rows to Sunday, feeling that with it being a holiday weekend, a lot of people may not make it. Usually this is a come now or forget it type of event, but this is sweet potato dig number 1. So there you go. That's our first harvest on that tarp.
That's amazing, because it's true. When you first started, it looks very like it's dead. Like, you know, I'm like, are you sure this is viable? It's amazing how they, but you knew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you put those in and I mean, you have to keep them watered when they start. And we did put, this was a new bed. We're also divided them up some because this is a bed we built last fall from the cardboard and mulch/compost from the village technique, and then we dumped more in. And we had problems a few years with voles, and then last year they didn't do well. So I of course did a little sample before I told the troops that we were going to dig sweet potatoes just to be sure. And yeah, I know it's that little really sad looking twig turns into all that.
And you said it's best to let them sit for a few days. It tastes better. Like how long?
Oh, not a few days, a few weeks.
Do you need to do that, or it just tastes better? I mean, it's just an improvement.
You need to do that. Just like, you know how you cure garlic?
So if you ate it right, if you just picked it and then cooked it, it would taste like weird or not ready, or?
I've never done that, but it wouldn't be as good. The longer they sit around and cure, the sweeter they get.
Okay.
And how do you cure them?
Amazing you asked that. So what you're seeing here is our method, since we have a lot of people, and this is an activity that has to be done as a group. No one's allowed to come over and just, you know, pick their own little plot of sweet potatoes. Everything else you get to come and on harvest day, you know, pretty much pick, you know, as you want. And the reason is we try to make this as fair as humanly possible. And you'll see that the sweet potatoes are in varying sizes from, I don't know, some really big fat round ones are like 7 inches long, and then they keep working their way down. So the method is everyone is instructed to bring a paper bag and write their name on it. And we lay the paper bags out of the tarp. And as the sweet potatoes are harvested, the placers. So to start with the largest and put sweet potatoes on each bag until they're all gone. So you have like large, and you keep going until all the sweet potatoes are divvied up. And that way it's pretty fair. I mean, with the first tomato harvest, we always have this I call it mayhem. We pick all the tomatoes and we put them in a bin, but then somebody will be doing something in another part of the garden and not paying attention. And then 4 people swoop in and of course get all the best tomatoes and squirrel them away right away. So but there's going to be more tomatoes, you know, it's happening all summer. So this has worked out to be a fair method, and you know, and everybody has fun. So over there, you see people picking up their precious bags of sweet potatoes to take home. And the instructions are to put your potatoes in a warm, dry place. Some people suggest on top of the refrigerator. I've left mine in the back of the car for a long time. As long as they don't need the back of the car, I find that works. You do not wash them. You brush the dirt off, kind of set them out. And the curing is a minimum of 2 weeks. The longer, the better. And I've kept, if you know, store them properly, like you would store potatoes in, you know, a cool place, you can be eating them well into the winter. I mean, you can have them for Christmas if you want. Next. And there you have it, the end of a dig. And you'll see a few winter squash down there. That's the next big, how to divide up the winter squash. We're having a lottery.
Excellent. Sorry, I was
So
just I'm taking notes, so sorry, I was distracted.
Right. Right. So, and you don't have that many, so it won't be that.
Like, how many think we would have it in our beds? Like, I don't know, 30?
I had a
something?
slide somewhere, somebody holding a bunch of them up. I don't know where that went to.
Yeah,
But I
I
would-
didn't get that.
I know, I was like going crazy trying to get them. They don't go from the phone very well.
Mm,
I rearranged those like, I don't know how many times, but anyway, there were, these were hanging really in a group. Like I said, all the other years we had them, they would be traveling all over. We'd find them a foot away from the origin point. But these, I call them cow udders. They look like a big bunch of cow udders. So I think there was about 1 to 2 big ones and maybe 3 medium size, and then the little dingleberries, as they call them. So you had what, 25?
Yes.
So 25 slips. Each one of those should have, a pretty good size, a nice batch.
All right, let's hope. Thank you. Looks like a lot of fun.
Now it's one of those things that we make it into a little event. Everyone knows to get over there and dig around and excavate for sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I just have sometimes a hard time getting a big. I never had that many people in my community garden, but hopefully in the future we'll have that as a big event.
Well, the key is to send out the email that says it's a sweet potato harvest and this is a community event. Like this year, I mean, we have enough that even people, usually the deal is, be there or lose it. And then a few people who come all the time, if they have a, legitimate reason, so to speak, not that it's too cold to get up in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
We save their sweet potatoes, but that's why we're having 2 digs this year. So next week we'll have another one, and hopefully the missing crew will show up. And a few people, if they can't make it, I'll put theirs, aside for them. But I don't get into that. Yeah, I'm saving you all your sweet potatoes and arranging for you to pick them up, type of thing.
And but even if you keep in there a few more weeks, they'll be fine under there in the ground, right? Or no?
We're gonna dig them all.
No, I'm saying from like if I.
Oh yeah, no, you can. They're fine in the ground. You
Yeah, 'cause I'm
just
saying
don't want to.
I'm trying. I want to make a good day, but I'm working these weekends, so I want to make sure it's a weekend day that I could be there.
No, you want to, talk it up and everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Once
So,
the ground freezes, then you have a problem, but we're not gonna have an actual freeze for a few weeks. I
So
wouldn't
once the leaves get damaged, you have to cut the stems. So if there is a slight frost, or if the leaves start to turn really yellow or brown,
Yeah, then you cut them off.
you need to cut them off. You can leave the sweet potatoes in the ground,
Oh, okay. I'm
For a
gonna cut them
while.
off.
but
Yeah.
what happens is a funny taste goes into the potatoes from the dying leaves. So that's why you want to cut them off.
Oh, all right. I better cut them off.
Yeah, you're gonna leave
But
them.
cutting them off is part of the fun.
But
It's
I don't
not
want.
gonna.
I'm saying because they're already brown. I don't want to wait. I don't want to leave them on for another few weeks. If
Oh,
we're gonna do-
really? Yours
Yeah, they
got
turn-
brown?
Yeah, right. Like they were totally green, and then we had a frost the other day, and then like literally the next day they were like brown, like that one frost
Wow.
turned dark. It was a strange.
Wow. Ours didn't, I mean, ours got a little limp, but they were not on the dead side at all.
All right, I'll recheck them.
So I have a question about sweet potatoes. I've grown them before, just a real small amount, but I used a sweet potato that had eyes that I cut up and put in the ground. What's the difference between that and using the slips?
I've never grown them using the eyes.
Okay. Bill, have you?
You can transplant them, right, at a certain distance. If you'd have them all coming out of a sweet potato, they're going to be closer together, and you may not get quite as much from that. So it's better to take the slips off, let them develop roots, and then plant the slips a foot and a half apart.
Okay.
I think for a sweet potato to actually grow sweet potatoes, what it needs to do is while it's underground, grow those slips.
Okay.
And then the sweet potatoes come out of that.
Right.
So, sweet potato is not a potato. It's just,
No.
it's a different kind of beast altogether.
It's in the nightshade family. It's not in the potato family at all. I mean, you can grow your own slips. You start in February something, you keep, a couple good potatoes from your harvest. And then I've read the instructions and it seemed like more work than I felt like doing. But you put them in a glass or something like you would an avocado, and then the shoots come up. Those are, slips. And they take those off and then you root them in water.
Okay.
I think Xiaotong's friend told her she could take some of the greens that you can buy in an Asian market and just plant those and they would grow.
That would probably be true. We're a little short on Asian markets here in Warwick, but
Right. If we end up with some next year, I will let people know.
but yes, those, as far as I know, I mean, potatoes grow from the eyes, but yes, like Bill said, I'm not sure how that would work out. Did you get sweet potatoes when you did that?
I
Christie?
did. Now, granted, it was in a box, so there was not a lot of room. I'm just trying to think how I did it. Yeah, I just stuck it in the ground like you would a potato because I didn't know any better. And they eventually grew. And I got some, but they were mostly more like fingers. They weren't huge. They were kind of really close together and misshapen. So it makes sense what you're saying, Bill.
Yeah. And
Okay.
another thing you can do if you want to get more sweet potatoes is once they start growing well in the spring, or it's almost the summer, but when they start growing and look really healthy, if you take some of the clippings from them and root them in water, you can plant those as long as you do it very early, and you can have more sweet potato slips. They won't be quite as big as the ones that you put in at the first time, but they're reasonably sized. So they're very expensive. I mean, they're charging a lot of money for 25 slips. I think it's like almost $25 for 25 slips now.
Wow. So Bill, do you root your own or do you buy them?
I've done both. It depends. I have grown my own from a sweet potato tuber, and I've also just gotten some and then got more slips from them and then planted them too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I think they're charging way too much now for them.
Probably.
I also want to note, though, if you don't know what you're doing, a lot of times things will happen that the garden books don't say will happen. So now that you've heard you're not supposed to just take and plant a sweet potato, you probably won't work again. That's my take on that.
Thank you.
And then the other thing, when you're planting these, you make big mounds. The looser the soil they're in, you're going to get bigger and better sweet potatoes because I call them Indian burial grounds. We're talking about Ohio. They have those big, long Indian burial grounds out there. So you mound the dirt up about a foot high and put your slips in the top of there and loose soil. So that way, when they start growing, they don't have any resistance to clay or hard soil, which would make sense. You're going to get better production from when they have room to move around.
Okay. All right. Should we go on?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, my little humble garden. I'm just gonna, not much going on, but show what I got. There's my little greenhouse not being used, but a tomato plant is growing in the middle of it. Even though I covered the floor, that seems to insist on growing. Then on one side I have elderberry, which is growing really nicely, but the birds are really quick with grabbing the berries. And then I have a cherry tree. The other picture is really coming, again, I got it started as pretty much like a twig. So this is the third year. So I'm hoping, I don't know, what does it take, 4 or 5 years to get fruit? And I'm hoping the next few years. And then even below the cherry, I don't know if I have a better picture, but below the cherry tree, Sonia Mason I planted a lot of very nice native perennials. I mean, so they're pretty small there, but I'm hoping that becomes a nice, native perennial strip. I'm really trying to increase my knowledge and use of native pollinators.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that other picture, but again, you can't see, I don't think I took a close up of it, but they're small and growing.
Mm.
So as you can see in Greenwood Lake, you see our neighbors are very close, as you can see. So, we don't have a ton of room, but again, right, I do have the hazelnut, starting from closest to my house, you have hazelnut, elderberry, Rosa ragusa. I have coneflower in there, comfreys in the back behind the elderberry, and a cherry tree, and some blackberries, and then that big tree is a mulberry tree, so I get a lot of mulberries from that. So I don't know how old that one is, but and then under that is I think wineberry, little mixture, and button top raspberries. So that's good. Again, I love that because that's an area not much really, because it gets shaded and there's a bunch of tree stumps. So I'm kind of letting that grow a bit wild over there, just because there's no better use for that area. So
Are you getting much as far as fruit from them?
yeah, oh yeah, between the mulberries and the wineberry and the raspberries, I was eating fruit, berries for a very long time,
Okay.
for a lot of
Trees
weeks.
love mulberries. Birds love mulberries.
Yeah, but I mean,
Chad-
but you see, right, they get a lot, but that tree is so much that I still get.
Oh, no, they really. Which one is your hazelnut, Chad?
Oh.
Should I
Oh,
go
well,
back?
you go back. Yeah, I don't know if I took a close-up picture.
They want to put in hazelnut. I want to see which one it is.
It's well, I don't know if you see my house. It's the two closest to my house. I don't have my mouse moving, but
Like here?
Like bush.
yeah, oh
They're
yeah,
like, they're bush
and they were
size.
growing really good. It's so funny. I was like so worried about the berries and peaches. It's hysterical. Like I didn't even think of the squirrels taking my hazelnuts. and I remember I asked Michael, I'm like, when can I pick them? And I was like, they were all ready, and I was like gonna go out the next morning, and like every hazelnut was gone. I was and
Ours,
I was like,
ours
and my
didn't
wife's
make it
like,
through the
yeah.
summer. Ours
was like,
didn't make it through the summer because it was like, when it was really hot and dry, a lot of them just gave up.
no,
So
they
if you
were
make,
growing beautifully, and they like literally, it was hysterical. I just came out and I was staring at it, like, where are they? Like, and again, it was so, and my wife's like, yeah, I think squirrels like nuts. I was like, oh, I guess so. Like I was so focused on berries and fruit that I really forgot that they obviously like nuts quite a bit. I've never grown
Right.
nuts before, so that was a little
So now-
heartbreaking.
Sarah, we've got a
How-
couple more mature ones. I can take a picture and send it to you, but they get to be like, we actually planted ours a little bit too close together. They get to be like 6 feet tall and
Okay.
about that far across.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
we've got two that are
Bushy rather than tree-ish.
bushy rather than tree-ish,
yeah,
definitely.
mine's 6-7 feet tall at this point, but I guess it's so
Okay.
far away you can't see. Then I still have tomatoes. They're green. I've been eating a lot of fried green tomatoes, but I'm picking some of them. I'm putting them in bags. I'm hoping they might ripen. And I still have some squash, miraculously. I don't know how. Like underneath that leaf, you can see like a little yellow squash growing. That's been pretty productive. It has not died out even past the frost.
Yeah, the
So-
leaves even still look,
Yeah,
Nice,
like
bright
I just
green.
took that, yesterday. So that. So I mean, it definitely slowed down as far as production, but
Right.
I'm hoping those two little yellow ones grow. And
Green tomato salsa, Chad.
oh,
green
that's a good idea.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right,
We had missed
here's
it.
this is a close up of the wineberries and the button top raspberries. And then I have artichoke. I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah.
I started this year. Yeah, I'm trying to do more perennials. Trying to focus on that. I have asparagus in the back. That
Yeah.
is so I hope the artichoke grows, but because that could be exciting.
Mhm.
And then in front of, I guess by those two rocks, I do have a few of the native pollinators, but again, they're very small, but I'm hoping, probably a few years they're going to grow. And the other picture amongst my near my cherry tree is the Jerusalem artichokes, which just flowered, this last week. So
Mm.
I don't know. Usually, I think they're usually farther along than that.
Ours
but-
flowered after it started raining. You know, it was so dry and they weren't doing anything and they were looking really, really tired because we didn't water those at all the way they're situated in our. And then after it started raining, they flowered nicely.
Hmm.
Still have flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I planted them for the first time this year and I didn't think they were ever gonna flower, but same thing here.
And again,
Rain.
these are all my original, at a sustainable Warwick meeting, Bill gave me 2 Jerusalem artichokes, and I'm still getting them every year just from that.
You'll never get rid of them.
I know, but I have them in a good spot, like they're not, they're not too dangerous, like 'cause I have a fence, and even then my neighbor has like a concrete drain there, so it's like I'm okay with them in that spot, and they're not spreading too far. But yeah, I'm hesitant to put them anywhere else because they definitely spread.
And
I-
then we
Chad,
have
when
your,
do you eat them?
On another, now this, oh no, what is it? Someone asked a question, sorry?
When do you dig those sunchokes?
When the flowers die out. and
Okay.
And this I'm really very thrilled with. This is the community garden. I planted groundnuts at the end of last year. And as you can see, they really spread up the whole fence. And it's funny, like I kind of gave up on them because it was spring, and I was like, I was even digging up. I'm like, I didn't see them. So I was like, all right, I guess they didn't work. And then they just shot up, and it's, they're covered. This is a pretty long stretch of fence here, and they just totally covered it. They have not flowered, as I do believe they do flower, but I don't know if they're going to flower this year. And as you can see, there's one of the little nuts sticking up out of the ground. Just if you want to see, because it's also another form of tuber. That's a native tuber. So again, I'm trying to grow native things that, this, I think this is very popular with the American Indians.
what do you do with them?
I guess they're, I don't know. I think I'm not even going to pick them this year. I think I'm going to wait till next year, but I guess I didn't really look into recipes, but I heard they're obviously nutty and then they're tubers, but I'm not even sure. Maybe maybe someone else has good recipes.
Groundnuts you plant in the autumn and they come back the next year?
Yeah, they should be perennial. So I'm hoping to have them many years, but I think it says don't harvest in the first year, like let them go to the second year. And again, I have them in a pretty good spot where I'm not too worried about them spreading wildly, but yeah, and again, they're growing up. I think even the leaves might be edible, but I've not eaten them. But I'm excited about little stuff like that. Gets me excited.
Oh, back at your house, did you have any Malabar spinach this year?
No, that's what. But all over the community garden, they self-seeded, so I got a ton, and they're very pretty Malabar. Again, a lot of the people haven't seemed to love them like I do, because it's a spinach, but I guess a little. Well, Sylvia didn't love them. She's on this call. But
I know what you mean. I grew it one year. It's not as spinachy.
I like it, and then and they're also very pretty. They're almost like a reddish, purplish, and they're
They
spiraling
are.
up. I have them against the fence, and even that, they're starting to seed again. And I probably should have taken a picture too of it, but they're actually very pretty, and I like that. I have spinach all summer long, but no one's fighting me for them.
I saw a video in Australia of a guy who planted his Malabar spinach in his sunchoke patch. And so it was sort of, the spinach was trying to grow up the sunchokes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, some things are acquired tastes.
I'm not sure if they lived in balance or harmony or not.
I planted Turkish rocket, which was, but I heard that's good if you cook with it, because if you take a bite of the actual, it's very bitter. But that's also a perennial. I'm just trying different perennials.
Mhm.
Any questions or, oh, yes.
Nope.
No. So, okay. So, and then we'll do a quick little shimmy in place before we get the question of the day.
Okay,
And I don't know if you have a slide for that or not.
yes, we do.
And you all seem to be vets here, but the idea is that well, Michael, you want to explain your shimmy in place philosophy? No, he's already shimmying.
He's taking it.
Basically, just move around for a minute or two and stretch. All righty, we're all shimmied out,
Yep.
and let's continue. Announcement. So we have this great food scrap program, pilot program at the Warwick and the Greenwood Lake Farmers Markets. And we just started. This is helped by Roger Moss of Sustainable Warwick, and then in Warwick it's really taking off. He did his pretty little gold bucket. I haven't painted mine gold. He didn't like the red color, so he wanted to be more interesting. But basically, we're trying to save all waste, of course, of any type. And you bring your food scraps, you could drop them right in these buckets. And we even handed out, I don't know, even last week we had a giveaway of these great little containers that you could put right on your kitchen top, and they close up, so it's it's a great thing. And then
Will there be more of those? Do you know?
I don't know. I have some more in Greenwood Lake. I don't know if the Warwick. I don't know if you guys use them all up.
I think Valerie gave them all away this last weekend.
Yeah. So I next season. No more for this season, but maybe next season.
Yeah, but that's it's a great motivation for people to do it when they get that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. And right, you even get they have more volunteers at Warwick, so they're even getting some local restaurant. Once you get restaurants involved, then that's a whole different level of food scrap. They could go from one bucket to 7 or 8 buckets very quickly.
Yeah.
And we're
Roger
trying to find
said-
local farms that will take these food scraps.
Roger said at the last one, they got 9 buckets.
Wow. That's So right, because I think Conscious Fork and you get Tuscan. Again, once you get a restaurant involved, the food scraps really you could fill up a ton of buckets.
Yeah.
So this is a really exciting new program, and we're hoping it really grows into something bigger.
Yeah.
But Chad,
Yes.
just as a point of information, on those little kitchen buckets to save the scraps,
Hmm.
I've had one of those for years, and you can, I think they still have them. There's a place called Lee Valley Tool, and you can get biodegradable bags to put down in there so that you can put your scraps in and then handily pick them up and dump them down into your composter without having like super mess down in there.
Oh, that's a great idea. Thank you. All right. Any suggestions for winter month topics? And we had a great event. This is not an announcement, but we had a great. We did a seed collecting tour yesterday with Sonia Mason, and it was really very informative and great. And she just walked us around and just showed us. We had the milkweed that was ready, and we put stuff in seeds, and I forced my children to go, so that was funny watching their faces. But it was really interesting. And then we even did vegetables, which are obviously a little bit easier sometimes, but that was a great thing. All right, so again, any suggestions for winter month topics for the Zoom garden plot meetings? Week of the October 24th, there's Warwick Shade Tree Commission will plant trees at Wickham Woodlands.
If anyone is interested in helping out with that or knows someone who wants to help out with that, let me know and I can get them in contact with the right people. Also, I want to mention, I'll take this one, Chad, if it's okay.
Okay, sure. Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to have a really cool presentation called Green the Grid and Electrify Everything at the next Sustainable Warwick meeting. Somebody from New Yorkers for Clean Power. They have a really polished presentation that they've done before. they said, since the Sustainable Warwick, we won't do the first half about how bad the climate crisis is. We'll just jump into, what they're doing in New York State about it and how to get involved and things like that. This should be a really good presentation. And that's at the Sustainable Warwick General Meeting. If you don't get our meeting or emails, let me know and we'll get you a Zoom invite for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sounds excellent.
Okay. Michael.
Yeah, so I think this was at the beginning of the summer of 2021. Bill and Mary, there's Mary in the background. She was the one who actually brought them over to our house. She gave us about 6 raspberry canes, and maybe it was 8, right? And so you can't even see in here, like we had set up some strings to like hold them up. And then, this last summer, I was a little bit lazy about a lot of the gardening things, and everyone kept saying, oh, we have to thin the raspberry patch. We have to thin the red, but nobody actually thinned the raspberry patch. So these raspberries are actually still producing. I took these pictures today.
Wow.
Wow.
We harvest
Nice.
we harvest like that many raspberries every day of the week,
Hmm.
which is about all you need for a couple, right? Really, it would be a big help if somebody wanted to come along and dig up some of our raspberry plants and take them away and plant them somewhere else, because we need to thin our raspberry patch. We've been saying this all summer. So the offer's out there, and the raspberries are really tasty. They're good raspberries, and Bill knows more about them than I do. I think he has more of them than I do, and he probably has maintained them better than I have. But they're supposed to produce all summer. Well, it was really dry. We didn't get many, but
Right.
since the rains have come, they've been very steady, and there's a lot more berries on there that, as long as it stays warm, I think we're going to be having raspberries.
Michael, our orchard group, which has found life and enthusiasm after years of kind of languishing, wants to, I think, I know they want to plant blueberry bushes, and they were talking about raspberries. So I will ask them, and I could probably get a couple guys to go over to your place. You would have to show them. And this is the time of year to dig them up.
I'm going to defer to Bill on that, but I think so. This is a tough
Yeah,
plant.
This is a good time. Yeah, it's moisture. It's not so hot. They'll be fine.
And
Or-
also, Sylvia mentioned she might want in the chat as well, Sylvia Harden. So that's, so you got some takers.
All right.
So thank you, Bill. All your little babies are spreading. I got my Jerusalem artichokes. You got Michael's raspberries. You're
You're feeding Warwick.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. What were some of the craziest gardening challenges you faced this year, or the yuckiest? Do you have that picture, Christy? There you go.
Yes, I do. Yeah, so this is a tobacco hornworm that was on my tomatoes. This one actually was there last year. I got 5 smaller ones this year that did not have the little white appendages. And Michael explained to me last year that that's actually wasp larva. And so I did a little research, and that's actually the little wasp there, the bracketed wasp. And it lays the eggs under the skin of the hornworm. And as the eggs hatch, the larvae actually feed on the hornworm inside their insides, and they eat their way out of the caterpillar and spin the cocoons. And that's how they get there. I was trying to make sense of it, because it looks like the caterpillar has almost like these little eyes all over its body. It's these little dots. And I was having a really hard time grasping what was going on. Anyway, apparently these wasps, as Michael told me, they don't sting us, they don't hurt us, but they help keep the pest of the hornworm in check somewhat. Anyway, so.
Well, have you seen the movie Alien? I guess that's the same concept of I think these eggs go in there and
I know,
right,
they're very cool looking, destructive, but they're very cool looking.
They're cool,
I know, yeah, they
but
are.
gross at the same time. And here we have an entry by Sarah.
So this is, we put in grapevines this year. And as we all know, this was like the Japanese beetle year of all time. I mean, we had gross buckets, like little plastic buckets full of Japanese beetles between the grapevines, trying to keep those alive that were brand new, and they were all over the rhubarb. But you can see, you can recognize the Japanese beetle, correct? And then you see that other monster. So look at the size of that thing in relation to the Japanese beetle. When I went out to the grapevine and saw that sucker, it's a grapevine beetle. And that's one I've never seen before.
That is
Something
really
new.
Very big. Yeah, that's a big.
Yeah, look how big
Big
it is.
critter.
I mean, you walk out to your baby plants and see that thing. It's like, ah.
Now, I have to say, I was at the library the other day and I saw Alice McMeechan there, and she was showing me the what's the plant for the milkweed. And on the milkweed pods that are there at the library some of them were just absolutely covered with these orange and black bugs. I don't know what they are exactly. I guess there's some kind of a beetle or whatever that eats
They're
the,
actually the milkweed bugs.
okay, milkweed bugs. They were all different sizes and they looked like they were in different stages almost, and they were clustered on these things. And
Yeah.
it was strange because they were the colors of a monarch butterfly, and they were clustered around it, sort of the way the monarch hangs from the trees in Mexico, and during the winter. And I just thought it was fascinating. And then down the stem of it, there were all what looked like, I'm assuming, eggs just clinging to the whole stem. And I wondered if anybody knew anything about that.
Well, those milkweed pods actually came from our garden. I
Okay.
told her to cut them years ago when a common milkweed plant showed up from a bird gift. We were all excited and we nurtured it along and we let it go to seed. And then we turned out it's a nightmare to have in your garden because they have runners and they're everywhere. So every spring we're pulling them out all over the place. I'm now cut those things off and get them out of here. But I remember seeing those little red bugs on them and thought there was yet something else attacking. And they're actually specific to milkweeds. And that's the only thing they seem to go after.
Hmm.
And we've never, I think 2 years we got a milkweed caterpillar. And I had 3 swallowtail caterpillars this year, but we have so many birds that had a little bag over them and everything, and they disappeared. The birds are as vicious of feeders over there as the squirrels and chipmunks are. But no, do not fear those little red bugs.
Okay. Well, they were swarming and a little scary, I gotta say.
I'm surprised she didn't knock them off first. I mean, I wouldn't actually take bugs over to someone else's house, but.
Well, they were
well.
at the library still, so it was still growing in the garden like that. Anyway,
Oh, the one growing in the garden. No, she cut seed pods off of ours and took somewhere. I thought she took ones we had with seed pods. I misunderstood.
oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
So, any other questions?
Sylvia had one. She goes, does anyone treat their lawn for grubs to decrease the beetle population? I had bags of beetles.
Any responses or thoughts? No.
I mean, the only thing I know you can treat your yard with is a commercial grub killer, which I don't think that's what she's talking about.
Oh, Bill stepped away. He might have had the answer, but
Maybe he knows.
maybe he ran out. He's looking right now for. It's funny. We have like a little pool we put outside in the summer, like a little Walmart crap. But that was like the best that killed so many beetles. It was like the best. Like every morning I'd wake up and I'd be scooping out like 30 Japanese beetles. It was like the best defense mechanism I ever got, just without even thinking about it. But they all, I guess, are attracted to the pool water and drown.
Yeah. They were relentless this year.
Yeah. Oh, Sylvia, hi.
Hi.
What? Okay, go ahead.
So last year was, I think, the worst year for us, and this year was bad. We have also a pool, and they're just floating like thousands.
Exactly. Yeah.
Remember placing the pheromone device that as it gets attached to the bag, and it was something like a horror movie. They came up from the lawn, like just thousands of them, and attacked us. It was like something out of our. It was days and days of capturing these beetles. But I don't know what the answer is. I guess we just have to get these bags every year and just collect them. I don't know if there's a natural way of. I guess everybody else has the problem. You had to see everyone down the road had these bags hanging on their front lawn. They're very destructive.
So,
There is. I
so
wonder
what,
if they have a natural predator or something. Or
yeah, and is this an especially bad few years, or what do you think is the reason? There's so many.
I don't know, but last year was horrific, and this year was bad, but not as bad as last year. I don't know. But I had a pear tree, a nectar tree, a peach tree. They devoured the leaves.
Really?
Devoured.
We had them on rhubarb of all things, and the grapevines. The other plants that they usually attack, they weren't that many on those. So I don't know. I know some people say not to use those bags because the bags
them.
have that pheromone in them, and it attracts all the Japanese beetles in the neighborhood. So
Right,
you're
that's
getting
what
your neighbors also.
Stacy said that from the garden center. She's like, don't get those traps because they,
Right.
even though they trap, right, they attract from all over. She
Right.
might have a good. Stacy might know. They might have a product. I don't know. Do praying mantises eat those beetles? Maybe. Could be.
No, the only thing I know is to go after the good old thing of soapy water and just keep dumping them in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a praying mantis, a couple of them on my hosta plant the other day. So I was looking it up to tell my grandson about it when I wanted to show him the picture I took. And I was surprised they can eat things that are a lot bigger than they are.
Yeah.
You know,
Did
I don't know, something, I think it said a frog or something was one of the things they could eat. It was insane. And
Oh,
they'll
wow.
kill, and the female will eat the partner even during coitus.
Uh-oh.
Watch out.
You know, they also eat monarch caterpillars.
Okay.
One year in our quest for the monarchs, we had a few caterpillars when I was really letting those plants go crazy. And we had them kind of protected and everything. And I came over and I saw a bunch of praying mantis. I was really excited. And then I noticed that all the monarch caterpillars had disappeared. And I read that they eat monarch
Oh,
caterpillars.
no. See?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Well, Michael added some info on that on the chat. If anyone,
I
maybe
did an
Sylvia-
ecosia search for ups and downs of beetle populations, and I came up with this Japanese beetle populations, and I came up with this one article from Michigan State that seemed to explain, you know, what drives the population up and down. By the way, some people do Google searches, but if you use the search engine Ecosia, they actually help plant trees around the world. They use their profits for planting trees. ECOSIA, it's a great browser to use. And I think they don't track as much of your information and personal stuff as others do.
Yes, Google certainly tracks everything you do.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for the reminder. I know you told me about that before. Thank you.
I heard a
Thanks.
podcast once that explained how they use their money to plant trees, and they really are responsible about it. There's not just like throwing twigs in the ground and saying, oh, we planted another 1,000 trees. They're, they're, they go to places that need them. They plant them responsibly and make sure that they're taken care of and like that.
Nice.
So it's a good browser it's a good browser search engine to use.
Okay, thank you.
So what did they say was the reason for the big burst of Japanese beetle population?
They say that the larvae don't survive well in dry soil. So if there's prolonged dry weather in late July or August, then the only suitable habitat for the larvae is the turf grass. So, but that's the larvae, that's the ones, if the larvae survive well, then you'll see a lot of adult beetles in the following July.
Oh,
Right. So it could be that we had such a dry July and August this year that next year the population will be low.
Right, because
Whereas this year we were dealing with the,
right.
you know,
It was moist last year. We had good rain.
yeah.
Well, if this year didn't wipe them out, nothing will.
yeah,
It was dry, dust.
yeah.
Huh.
Be
Interesting.
interesting to, yeah, be interesting to see. Let's try to remember that, right?
If skunks are just rooting around in soil, are they digging up beetle larvae? What are they, you know, have you ever had a skunk come to your yard and sort of make a hole, divot every couple feet, or some rodents do that?
The
I thought they
mold,
were digging up larvae, but I didn't know from larvae or what.
Hard to tell because I have all those squirrels because I have that walnut tree and they're digging. The skunks are out at night. Of course, my dog likes to dig, so who knows?
Any other questions? Or disgusting pictures of scary giant bugs?
No, that's all we got.
Oh,
That's it.
wait, Bill's here. Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had any question and anything you might know about Japanese beetles? Any good strategy to fight them off, eliminate them?
I use the hand picking method, but I also use traps. I didn't have hardly any Japanese beetles this year, in spite of the heat.
They were all at Sylvia's house.
Yes,
Yeah.
I really had very few. But if you do keep after them year after year, they usually drop off locally. So you can get rid of them, you know, in your neighborhood or around your yard, because they're usually coming directly out of the soil in your yard. So as you get rid of them, there should be less each year.
how do you get rid of the soil in your lawn?
Oh, in the lawn. I don't know, once they're in there, there are poisons you can use, but I don't use any such poisons.
Yeah. I
I
have
just catch them.
pets, so I don't want to use anything that could be harmful, but they do live, the grubs, they're just, the grubs are under the surface at the root level of your lawn. And they also destroy your lawn. It's before they even become beetles. It's like a never-ending cycle. So I
Well,
guess
maybe this dry summer will do them in for you
yes,
for next
okay,
year.
right. Let's hope.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. This is the end of season 3. It's been an excellent season. Again, thank you for all your contributions. And season 4 is coming, and we'll see. Maybe we might get a great subject, or maybe even do a little winter topic, but not sure about that. We'll have to think about that. But thank you again. I appreciate it, and see you soon.
Okay,
Well, you'll get emails notifying you.
Okay.
great.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
bye-bye.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.